Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Oh, no. Go, tell me.
Yeah. I think we're on. And I can hear. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that you, Ken? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ken Johnston, Senior? Uh-oh, he dropped off. Okay, well, I guess he'll call back. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard, all you ground troops spinning around smartly. We had everybody on, and it dropped, so you probably heard us fiddling around there. We're connecting with American Communications Online. Thank you very much. Stand by. I think he's calling in on the wrong phone. Whoops. I've got so many here. Hold on. Hold on. Hi, Ken. Which line are you on? Okay. No, right now you're on my home number. Can you call me back on? You dropped. Call me back on 347-945-7207. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. It's a good thing I keep all these phones around. They come in handy. I've got about 3 cell phones sitting here, but he's trying to figure out which one is the radio show. And I apologize for that, but he was on here. He just thought, I guess he couldn't hear. So let's try him one more time. 845. Well, no. Ken, well, hold on, folks. Ken's been a pilot in the U.S. Marines since 1962, and he took his Honorable Discharged in 1966. But he joined 3 other pilots working on the Apollo Lunar Module at NASA, Houston, Texas, where I was back in the day, and he was, and we're going to be discussing the Whistleblowing Act, and if either one of us will fill it up or anybody else out there that wants to listen. But let me get him on here. Hold on here. And you can read the rest online. Is this Ken Johnston Sr.? Can you hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear. How am I coming through?
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in, Ken Johnston. And we had him last night, but we're going to continue where we left off. And he's received 3 BS degrees, so you're full of it, aren't you, Ken? And 2 doctorate degrees. How's that worked out for you, Ken?
Well, it all depends.
So it worked out good?
Yes, it does.
Well,
Sometimes.
I've enjoyed getting to know you and enjoying sharing time with you. And, I was getting tired of just writing tons of books and not getting anywhere. So I thought I'd try one with you and bring you on and see if we can't work out some differences. Now, tonight, let me see what this wound up. I didn't have a T in your name. I'd go back and finish that. But, folks, tonight we're going to start a series with Ken, and this is going to be called About Traveling with Extraterrestrials with Ken Johnston, Sr., and myself, Theresa J. Morris. So welcome aboard, all you ground troops. We appreciate your boots on the ground. And, Ken, I gave a little bit while it said dropped off, so I had to swap phones real quick and mill about smartly, as we said in the military. But you were Marines, and I worked with the Marines as a medic corpsman. I was a corpsman in the Navy, but we're all uniforms. Thanks to my first uniform was Navy, but then when Lowry Air Force Base, then it was Air Force. And then it was Navy again, and then they put me in black pajamas and stuck me out in the U.S. Army training with the Army in the field, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And then when I went to Hawaii, they stuck me over on the other side of Kaneohe Bay, and it said we were 13 recons, and I didn't even know what that meant, but I soon found out. But it's fun, and I've enjoyed working. And the Marines, my brother was Marines and second class and worked over in Paris Island training people, and I know you didn't know all that. So now we're going to get to have you talk a little bit, Ken. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I've got a lot of your little bio here that you shared with me, but not enough. So we're going to hopefully know people can go back to 95. I've got tags, ET UFO, disclosure, whistleblowers, NASA, and space. Ken Johnston, TJ Morris, ET Radio, and Theresa J. Morris for right now. And I did throw it up on Facebook. So, Ken, just give us a basic rundown, and then for anybody that doesn't know who you are. So go ahead, please.
Okay, be glad to. But first of all, I have to clear up one thing. As you know, once a Marine, always a Marine. So I'd lose my standing if I didn't say that. But I'm also very active with the Air Force right now. It is the auxiliary of the Air Force, and doing with the cadets and the Civil Air Patrol. And anytime there's a national disaster going on or what have you, we're up in airplanes and getting down in low and getting pictures and looking for rescuing and stuff like that. So I'm still very active with the military. Now, background on me. Wow, when I got out of the Marine Corps in 1966, I was fortunate that my brother, Dr. A.R. Johnston, was working at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. It was a manned spacecraft center at that time. And he said, kind of like what Buzz Aldrin said, get your ass to Mars. In this case, he said, get your ass down to NASA in Houston. And I got down at the time, I had my civilian pilot license then. I got my first training as a pilot in the Marine Corps. And so I went to work down at NASA with the grunt. Well, I had offers. My goodness, when you go from what your rank and your pay is in the military, and you compare it to what an engineer, which was an aerospace engineer, is in the civilian world, it is a big difference. It was back then, anyway. So I had offers from Martin Marietta, from the main one that counted was Grumman, because Grumman built the Lunar Module, and they needed to have civilian astronauts to train and learn every system within the lunar modules and test it in the vacuum chambers there at the Johnson Space Center, and then turn around and assist the training of the regular NASA astronauts. So that was kind of my big start, and it wasn't. I guess the best thing to say is, as you get it more involved in the government, which I'm sure you know, TJ, about the government. You get privy to things that you look at and you say, I've got to check that stuff out a little bit more. But then you get laid off. If you're a contractor like we were, you get laid off every 3 years and you have to find a new job, a new position. But working with Grumman, as soon as we finished landing on the moon with Apollo 11, I had shifted over to the Lunar Receiving Laboratory and became the director of the Data and Photo Control Department, which meant I had access to all the original 8x10 pictures, the film, the communications, everything that went on before it got to be doctored. And as the years went by, those people who request copies of certain pictures and things, you would be amazed at what you cannot find in the pictures that you're given. And if you get a hold of, and this is something else. I'm going to give my mother credit for this. She said, if you have something you think is important, hang on to it, because it might be important to some other people someday. Well, whenever we started shutting down the Apollo program, And I had like 5 sets of all the pictures and stuff for scientists from around the world that would come in and pick up samples from the moon. And then they would have us, we'd take those, and then they would want to have the copies of the pictures thing. So I had 5 sets all the time in filing cabinets inside my office in the data photo control department. And then I got contacted, my supervisor came in, and he says, okay, we need to get rid of all but 1 set. I said, okay, can I send them some to the universities that have science departments? He said, no, just get rid of them. And I said, well, we pay for these with our tax money. They're important. He said, I don't care what you do, just get rid of them. And I took that exactly as he said. He didn't care what I did. So I put 3 out of 5 sets. I put 3 sets in the empty dumpsters. I put 1 set in a duffel bag, and I left 1 set in the filing cabinet. And that night when I went home, I took the duffel bag with me, and I put it in storage for years. And then we finally got up, let's see. Well, I left NASA in 1980 and went to work for the Grumman Corporation. It became a 737 flight instructor for Boeing Company. And then along about 1995, I was listening to the radio, and this gentleman by the name of Richard C. Hogan was talking about the Mars and Moon and pictures and things. He says there's bound to be people out there that have pictures and some proof and things of these, and they need to come forward now while they're still alive. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Okay. So I put together a little letter of introduction. He was in town in Seattle, Washington that night, and I went down to there and went up to pay my ticket to get into the program they were presenting, and I handed it to the lady, and she read my introduction and said, what I did and that I had this. Her hand started to shake, and she says, well, you're who we've been looking for. And I'm thinking, I am in trouble now. But a few minutes later, Mr. Hogan came out, and he says, that's great. Come on, we're going to talk. And so the next day, after his program, the next day, he came over to my house and then exposed what they call Ken Johnston's archive. And it was 2 days later, he shipped me on a plane to Washington, D.C. for a conference they had, and where we had the press from all over the world, and we came forward for the first time with documents and proof that we actually had, there were alien bases or bases on the moon, and documents and records on that, as well as the communications. So that kind of got me to where I'm at now, and fortunately I was far smart enough to put a complete copy of the whole set with the Roswell a UFO Research Center and Museum, and that's where they reside today, and nice and safe, and people from around the world have access to go and look and see what the real pictures and the real evidences are. So we're making progress of getting disclosure out to the world. Kind of that puts me up to where you're at now. I know somebody's on the other line. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Oh, hello.
I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. So.
No.
All right. I've got to watch that mute button. I guess I can take me offline and call back in then. I know what. Did I not turn this one on? I thought I did. I've got to use it. Can you hear me okay? Is there no problem with this phone? You hear me fine?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Well, I'll get on that phone. I'll just call back in on the other one. I didn't know. I was testing out one of my brand new E5 or 16, whatever, a new phone. Anyway, all right. Yes, we'll work on that because, yes, that sounds great. Now, you put together something and you've come forward since then. Tell us about the, well, I don't know where I want to start. There's so many topics, Ken. With us coming together, I know you did a couple of shows with me. People may remember Ken Johnston, and put some pictures here for people. And I've got to get everything back up for 2019. It's been very costly to have all the websites and things we've had. Now that I need them and helping get Ken, and we're going to talk about our books. But, it's about getting the message out. And since I lost all the first show I built up while you and I were talking and had to scramble and just put up a couple of small bits of our bio, I lost everything that we talked about, so we're going to have to start all over again. So with your about traveling, and you had some topics you wanted to discuss tonight, you have been on some panels, or at least speaking. Have you been on panels with other people since '95, or just strictly a speaker at these UFO conferences?